Anyhow, uh, this is some information from an article by Greg Szymanski from the Arctic Beacon from 2006. This is a mother who tells all about the White House sex sting. She had a little, they had that sex slave ring that was going on through the White House, and her son's kidnapping. It appears Patricia Johnson Holm claims in 1985 her 12-year-old son David was kidnapped by the Bush pedophile ring, using White House power as a cover for their evil and satanic activities with young children. She was 59 in 2006, has not seen her kid since he disappeared, and she thinks he's still alive, but of course can't be sure. Recently a photo turned up on the internet saying it came from a whistleblower who released a photo from a subscription-only porno site. The photo shows David as a young teenager, bound and gagged, lying on a double bed with two other young boys also bound and gagged, the other one to the right of David being a young Johnny Ghosh. Besides Johnson Holmes coming forward, Johnny's mother, Noreen Ghosh, has recently gone public as well, trying to alert the public of the higher-up officials involved in the pedophile ring. Yeah, this is famous. This goes back to Reagan. I'm going to show some documents too as we move into this. But it's true now that they had, this thing was going through the White House, and again, Ghosh, her story gets even stranger since some investigators related to the suspicious death of writer Hunter Thompson, who was said to have committed suicide the day after Ghosh and Gannon were connected publicly. Now, he was a wacko. They had all these sex orgies, drug sex orgies, and Hunter Thompson was in on them. That is also on record. Now, in 2005, on a website called Total Information, the mainstream media covered this entire story, where the Bush White House had a homosexual prostitution scandal. The internet investigators started asking if there could be a connection to the previous Bush White House homosexual prosecution scandal. If you recall, the stories of a 15-year-old call boys wandering through the White House in the middle of the night was linked to the Franklin cover-up, which I'm going to give up right here. I have a really good piece here from the Franklin cover-up. There's just so much evil. These guys are all like going wild and performing all these satanic rituals, literally, and also just debauchery, like the Hellfire Club with Ben Franklin. It just goes on and on. This is not here. It is the Franklin cover-up. Now, there's a great book about this entire turn of events: child abuse, Satanism, and murder in Nebraska. Okay. Now, it was written by John W. DeCamp, and it's a great book. From 1996 it was written, and it basically is a revelation that there was a prostitution ring going through the White House, just like, you know, Madam Polk. Why do you think that they killed the D.C. Madam? You know, Alex Jones had her on. He was begging her to go public, and she says, "No, I'm not. No, I'm not gonna. You know, I got some things we got to take care of." And she went on record and said, "I swear, no, I'm not going to commit suicide. I have everything to live for. I have a wonderful life." And then, of course, she committed suicide and hung herself. Yes, yeah, like that's just like you know, all these other classics that, you know, just unbelievable. They just don't, you know, not suicidal, but they commit suicide. You know, like starting, I guess, with Frank Olson. You know, quote unquote committed suicide, threw himself out of a window of a hotel on LSD that was given to him. And then in 1975, Donald Rumsfeld, and Dick Cheney wrote a letter to Frank Olson's widow and settled for $775,000 and admitted that they killed Frank Olson. The CIA killed him, actually. Yeah, that's on record too. So the Franklin cover-up, it brings more of this Bohemian Grove, like boys club, you know, sexual, you know, crazy stuff. Nixon was on record saying there was a bunch of fags running around there, you know, when he's been to the Grove for the Republicans. But it's this debauchery, or whatever you want to call it. It does have a lot to do with homosexual activity, satanic ritual abuse, and definitely child trafficking for sex. Now, it's all interrelated, like everything else I've always said every show. This is all a huge spider web, a bottomless pit of evil, and this is just another one of the webs, and one of the links in the web that ultimately lead to the center. Now, the Franklin cover-up involved the Reagan administration with George Bush as well. It had a lot to do with things. Between 1988 and 1991, an alleged child sex ring serving prominent citizens of Omaha, Nebraska, as well as high U.S. politicians, high-level U.S. politicians. The allegation centered around the actions of Lawrence E. King, director of the recently collapsed Franklin Community Federal Credit Union in Omaha, and a prominent local political figure. Two grand juries ruled the allegations to be false, and the two victims were indicted for perjury. And how nice, finally. One was convicted and sentenced to 9 to 15 years, though numerous conspiracy theories persisted afterwards. Yes, conspiracy theories. Oh yes, these are all conspiracy theories. Conspiracy, yes. Theory, no. This is all on record. So the shutdown of Omaha, Nebraska's Franklin Community Federal Credit Union was raided by federal agencies in November of 1988. Went really wild because this guy was involved in all of these sex parties at the White House under Bush. You know, George Bush the first. And Reagan, it's like when it dovetailed into their administrations, and it goes on and on. Well, the book, this particular book, is really interesting because in the face of the opposition from local and state law enforcement, from the FBI and the Omaha World newspaper, a special committee of the Nebraska legislature launched its own probe, and what looked like a financial swindle soon exploded into a hideous tale of drugs, Iran-Contra money laundering, and a nationwide child sex abuse ring and ritual murder. 19 months later, the legislative committee's chief investigator died, and it was sudden and violent, and like more than a dozen other people linked to the Franklin case. Author John DeCamp knows the Franklin scandal from the inside. In 1990, his DeCamp memo first publicly named the alleged high-ranking abusers. Today, he is an attorney for 2 of the abuse victims. Using documentation never before made public, DeCamp lays bare not only the crimes, but the cover-up of a textbook case of how dangerous the corruption of institutions of government and the press can be. In its sweep and what it can portend to do for the nation, the Franklin cover-up, of course, followed the ugly precedent of the Warren Commission. Yeah, please, it was just disgusting. During 16 years in office, the former state senator John DeCamp was cited even by his enemies at the World Herald as one of the most effective legislators in Nebraska history. He was a war veteran and all that. He's a good guy, and he goes into the fact extensively. And this is a great. Again, he was a Vietnam War veteran, John DeCamp, and he evacuated 2,800 orphaned Vietnamese children. He's currently a lawyer, as mentioned earlier. He's still alive. Now, this particular book about the Franklin. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, here it is. It covers the government, the CIA, and the psychiatric experiments in mind control, the intentional creation of split personalities, or what is known as multiple personality disorder, and dissociative identity disorder, is the underlying goal of the activities. Now, yeah, again, all of these things, like the mind control of this whole thing, was really big. Right here, I'm going to show, just for that, for the video aspect, homosexual prostitution inquiry ensnares VIPs with Reagan and Bush. This is from the Washington Times on June 29th, 1989. Homosexual prostitution inquiry ensnares VIPs with Reagan and Bush. These are the call boys. Took a midnight tour of the White House. And they're all partying up there, having a good time, while Dyncorp is trafficking all of these people out of the country and in from the country, and for sex and selling them, just like in that movie Taken. It's exactly like that. These guys actually do that kind of sick shit. You know, they take people just like that, and this happens. And it's not a movie, people. It's real. This is absolutely happening. And look what happened here. And of course, it got brushed under the rug, but you got literal credit card vouchers of this, of their little trysts and all of that. Conspiracy of Silence, it was called. There's actually a documentary that aired on the Discovery Channel in 1994 called Conspiracy of Silence. So if you'd like to delve a little farther into this ridiculous insanity with these sick, lunatic perverts, you can Google, I guess, Conspiracy of Silence, Discovery Channel, and tell you all about it. Oh yeah. Yeah, the video's right there. Craig J. Spence, a Washington lobbyist who is the subject of a federal investigation of male prostitution in Washington, is facing cocaine and gun possession charges in New York, the Manhattan District Attorney said. This is from 1996. Mr. Spence, 48 years old, was arrested July 31st at the Barbizon Hotel. Yeah. Nice. This is all part of that. Interesting. So yeah, the Franklin cover-up was a definite, you know, they killed this kid. They murdered him, and it's a financial swindle. They definitely were killing kids for ritual murder, which is satanic sacrifices. I mean, literally. I mean, I know it sounds hard to believe. It's like, whoa! But it's true. Because everything we do speak about here is true. I mean, this is just... I mean, I was just like yelling and vomiting, you know, feeling vomiting. Here's some stuff to puke about. The Pediophocracy by Dave McGowan. Now this is in Brussels, where oh my God, the convictions. Yeah, this guy is a. To understand the New World Order, you have to understand that the satanic ritual abuse part of it, using like the pornography, prostitution, mixed in with all this politics, and it's basically using these children for sex and prostitution, torture, and the base of these protocols. It's all it's ritualistic. It's not done for amusement or entertainment. As much as society sort of uses it for that, they use it in a ritualistic sense, and they kill. It's a very sick thing. Michael Aquino has been implicated as a key figure in a large-scale pedophile child pornography ring in July of 1988, not long before the King and Spence cases broke. The San Jose Mercury News ran a lengthy expose on the Presidio Child Development Center run by the U.S. Army in San Francisco. Allegations of abuse being perpetrated at the center first emerged in November of 1986. Now this kept going. This is still going on. Like, these things got revealed, and Dyncorp is still doing this. They're still continuing this trafficking of children and selling them on the streets and to elites and to torture and to murder. I mean, like the movie Hostel, I mean, that's like real. I hate to say it, but it's real. Things like that exist. It's not some filmmaker's imagination. Believe me. It scares me even more. He probably knows about them. He probably knows a few of these people.